everybody. Artish and Finesse with you on Tuesday night. The Penguins just fell to the Phoenix Coyotes 3-2. And Finesse, I'm not saying I'm ready to eulogize the 2014 Pittsburgh Penguins, but I think we here at the blog are making preparations. We're making preparations.
Be honest, you didn't want to do this podcast tonight, did you?
I don't want to do it at all. I have nothing good to say.
Yeah, but sometimes that's when you're needed most.
Yeah, well, it's definitely emotional. It's an emotional time in the season. I mean, there have been stretches of this season where I haven't felt very much at all. There have been stretches where I felt pretty good. Right now, I feel very, very negative about the Penguins. How do you feel?
Well, I'm negative too, but elaborate. Why are you so negative? What is it a lack of optimism, or are you just actively negative about the team?
I just don't think the team's that good. And there are major, major red flags for me with what's going on right now. Two of them just from tonight. Sidney Crosby played more than 23 minutes tonight. Now, an optimist might say that the Penguins have nothing to play for. They're playing out the string. They've locked up the second seed essentially, and we're getting healthy. I would say if all that is true, why is Sidney Crosby playing more than 23 minutes a night in a relatively meaningless game after playing in the Olympics with a condensed schedule in the last month? This does not bode well. And the second point that I want to make is that Brian Gibbons was maybe our most noticeable player tonight. And Brian Gibbons is going to disappear in the playoffs. You heard it here first. He may not even play.
Wow.
So those two things have me a little down about this team.
What a prediction. People don't listen to this podcast for flimsy predictions.
No.
They want that controversial Brian Gibbons opinion.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you what I think about Brian Gibbons. I'm not holding back.
Yeah, don't. The 23 minutes is bad for Sid, but I'm looking at the other guys' minutes. Tanner Glass, 7:35. There's nothing to be gained from Tanner Glass playing more than 7 minutes and 35 seconds.
You have to save Tanner Glass for the first round of the playoffs.
Taylor Pyatt with 9 minutes. He had like one or two okay shifts. He made a great play on the goal that he scored.
Yeah, he did. I'm not going to take that away from him, but for every good play he makes, there are 15 really, really subpar ones.
There's no one else to play those minutes. I mean, you got Brandon Sutter playing 17 and a half minutes. That's more minutes than he should play. He's not the type of third line center that's going to step up and be able to handle 20 minutes. He's not. Yeah. I mean, Jordan Staal could have played 21, 22 minutes a night like tonight. Yeah, Sutter and Gotch are not that. They're not that guy. Like they're max 16 minutes for Gotch and Sutter is a lot of minutes.
It is. The team as it's constructed right now, it just doesn't make sense to me. I know there are injuries, but even when we're healthy, we've basically got one really good line right now that's come together with Crosby, Kunitz, and Stepniak. We've got one explosive line when Malkin's healthy. The fact that he's not healthy is just terrible because he was just gearing up. But with Neal and Malkin and Jokin, it's an explosive line that's bound to take a horrible penalty basically every game. And then you've got two lines of just guys that you feel like you're killing a penalty when they're on the ice. Doesn't feel like a real team. It feels like a bunch of guys thrown together, some of whom are really good and some of whom are not very good.
Well, I think I don't agree that the team doesn't make sense. I think the players are just bad. If you had
that's semantics.
You could put together a decent bottom six at the salary the Pens are devoting to a decent bottom six if you pick the right players.
Well,
but
that's what I mean.
We just
have when I say that.
We just have crap players throughout the lineup. I mean, Tanner Glass, Taylor Pyatt, Craig Adams are not real NHL players. They can kill penalties, but so what? I mean, you can get any jabroni from the AHL to come up and kill penalties. If that's all they're good for, then they're good for nothing.
That's right. And just to elaborate on that statement, I think we're saying the same thing, but even if we're completely healthy and you put Bo Bennett in the lineup and you have him on the third line, it doesn't make sense. I mean, there's no line that's tough to play against on that team.
That's the biggest problem is that the team just doesn't no team has any issues matching up with the Penguins, other than the fact like they're just because Crosby and Malkin are so talented, they're going to take over and win a lot of games. But there's nothing sort of systematic or strategic about the Penguins' success. It doesn't seem to me. And I don't watch coaches' tape, but it just seems like our record is a reflection of, over the course of 82 games, high-end talent, which the Pens have a lot of, and reasonable goaltending, which the Pens have gotten, is going to get you, close to 100 points.
Right.
And then, but the difference between that and like how you have to win in the playoffs is it's not the same thing. You have to play a little bit different way. And I don't know that we're capable of that.
Right. I mean, did you watch any of the Bruins Canadians last night?
No, I was flying. I was on a plane.
You watch that game. It's like they were playing a different sport in terms of intensity. And
I'll go back and watch it.
Yeah, watch that tape back. We're going to go into the playoffs, if not in the first round, maybe the second round. We're going to be underdogs in a lot of people's minds, which is great to be the scrappy underdog, except we're not scrappy. We're not the slightest bit scrappy.
Right. And as I said to you today, I don't think we'll ever actually be perceived as the underdog no matter who we're playing.
Right.
We are Duke basketball and the New England Patriots. Because we have sort of this marquee brand right now, there's no – and a lot of regular season success. It's like the Patriots going 12-4. They're going to be looked at as the favorites in the playoffs, even though like the Patriots' flaws were apparent this season and then they got crushed by the Broncos. You could sort of just put that same thing toward the Penguins probably. Like the names are the same, the logo is the same, so you feel like you're going to be the favorite. But if you really watch the games and watch the differences between the teams, the Pens are not the favorite. Not to say that the Pens are really underdogs against anyone other than Boston, because the Pens probably have a better than coin flip chance of winning any other series. But that still means they have a 45% chance of losing in the first round or second round.
Right. So, I mean, it's going to be a fascinating postseason, whatever happens this spring. I just can't envision the Penguins winning the Stanley Cup. It's just not even on my radar. And, there is this sentiment that's building that, if we don't have a really long run, that this really, really is it. That's it for Bilesma, and it's time to, restructure this whole thing. And, it's hard to argue that there shouldn't be big changes of that nature, but I just still feel like Shiro completely screwed up this year. I just don't know what he was thinking. Last offseason, when he constructed this roster, I think this is largely on him.
Yeah, I agree. It's just the team is flawed structurally, like we've talked about it many times, and it's not like he pursued a strategy that requires perfection in finding bargains and rounding out your roster. If you want to have the high-end talent, you have to find good players to fill out the roster for not a lot of money. And he's like 0 for 18. I mean, we listed this in one post. None of the players, especially the forwards, have been good. They've been horrible. I mean, you go back to like signing Tanner Glass, $1.1 million, not a very impactful signing, but that same day that we signed him for $1.1 million, what's the guy who I'm blanking on his name. The guy just signed. He did sign with Florida. He's on the Panthers.
Oh, Brad Boyce.
Brad Boyce signed the same day for $1 million. So like those guys are out there. Shearer just got the wrong guys. Should have signed Brad Boyce instead of Tanner Glass. Tanner Glass is a terrible hockey player, and we don't even get the benefit of being like, let's go, boys. Come on, boys. Would there be a better player for the Penguins to have signed than Brad Boyce? Come on, boys.
Oh, it would be so great. I just love to see Mario come into the locker room. Hey, boys. Boys, good game, boys.
It's like a who's on first thing with Mario in the locker room.
Way to play the puck, boys.
Let's go, boys. Get those pucks in deep, boys. Come on, boys. Chip it in, boys.
Yeah, that's disappointing. And
but let's. Go ahead.
I just one more note on Boyce. I feel like Crosby has some sort of a history with Boyce. Like they played together at some point. I might be making that up.
Yeah, I don't know whether they would have played together. But the point is that we got a bunch of guys filling out the roster that aren't good. And they're not just not like trying hard enough or effort. They're just not really good. They're just not good players. So then you have Crosby playing 23, 24 minutes a night, having to take face-offs on the penalty kill. And I don't want to make excuses for guys like Crosby and Malkin because they have their own flaws this season, but that's an enormous burden for them to undertake. And you look at some of the other stars in the league, they're just not asked to do as much because they have much deeper teams. Like look at Patrice Bergeron is a great player. I got a lot of respect for him watching him in the Olympics. But he can focus on like one thing. He can focus on defense. And he has a successful season if he scores 60 points, 65 points. Guys like Crosby and Malkin, especially on a team where they're the only two real good centers, they have to score 100 points and like a Crosby especially has to play in every difficult situation.
That's match up against the other team's best line.
He has to match up against the other team's best line, even at home, because guys like Sutter and Glass and Pyatt and Craig Adams can't.
Yeah. If we manage to get to Boston in these playoffs, which is not even close to being a sure thing, and Bilesma makes no attempt to get Crosby away from Bergeron and Chara, I'm going to be the first one in line in the fire Bilesma, train. There's no question about that. I mean, it's just I'm so over that. Come on, isn't that coaching 101?
Yeah, you have to take – I think what's clear is that the Penguins have to take a chance in the playoffs at getting Crosby good offensive matchups and Malkin good offensive matchups. And they're going to have to roll the dice with Sutter playing against the other team's best line.
Yeah, I mean, you're riding your best play. That's what this season is all about. We're giving you no help, Crosby and Malkin, and the Crosby and Malkin lines. Virtually no help with the rest of the forward court. So you gotta exploit those matchups.
You know who I like though is Lee Stempniak. I think he's a very nice player. He would have been like he fits well. He's a good like Dupuis-like piece.
He's very complimentary to that line. There's no question.
Yeah, he's certainly not holding it back the way some of the other guys have, and he actually he contributes too. Now, given Shearer's history the last few years, there's a good chance he signs 31-year-old Lee Stempniak to a 4-year contract this offseason, which would probably be a mistake. But that's a good trade. I mean, he's fitting in well, and it just it solidifies a line that was already good and doesn't do much for the rest of the team. But it's still I like him. I will say that.
I do too. The one other thing I think bears a mention before maybe we put a stop to the negativity for the night is this Orpik-Scuderi penalty-killing pairing is a little bit painful at times. I think they were on the ice for 2 goals tonight.
Yeah, it's just tough to. Their penalty killing has been fine this season. It's just they're always killing penalties, even at even strength. That's just the way that's their style of play right now. We don't push the puck. We don't have the puck. We don't keep it in the offensive zone. There's too many guys, and the defense is a huge problem. We spend most of our time talking about the forwards, but the defense is just as much of a problem, where their mentality is just clear the puck out of the zone. If it goes to the other team's defense, whatever, at least we got it out of the zone and didn't get scored on. But you can only do that so many times before the other team, has the puck all game.
It's very tough to get on those guys too much. I mean, we're missing our top 2 defensemen.
Yeah, that's a huge difference. Yeah, that's a big problem. I mean, and if you're gonna try to be optimistic, and I'm not ready to do the funeral for the Pens like you are by any means, but if you're trying to be optimistic,
I'm just saying I'm making preparations. That's all I said.
That's the optimism, is that you would get Martin and Letang back healthy. And that the Pens could hit some kind of groove with that. Because if Malkin comes back and then Martin sort of eases into the lineup, like doesn't dress until game 2 of the first round series, and Letang's practicing but not playing, I mean, I don't know that there's any new energy that's going to spark this team. So you just have to hope that you get it from Chris Tang, which is a risky proposition.
Yeah, I mean, I think as you said, thank goodness for Orpik's leadership. I'm hoping it might be time for an Orpik speech.
Yeah, he's gonna have to step up and give a good locker room speech. One guy you should speak to probably and just tell him to maybe cut back on the offensive zone penalties is James Neal.
Yeah, James Neal is getting himself some serious publicity around the internets these days for his dirty play. I don't know if you're privy to this. I know you're out of town. Have you been following this?
Yeah, I saw a little bit of it. I saw him cross-check whoever that guy was in the head.
Yeah. Listen, it's well deserved. James Neal, let's face it, is a bit of an asshole.
Yeah, he is. And my problem is not that he's an asshole. And I honestly, I don't care about integrity of the game type stuff. I mean, I really don't. A lot of people say they do and, they care about the headshot. I really – that's not what bothers me. What bothers me is that all of his pest stuff and his dirty plays and his cheapness, it's all reactionary. It's all – in retaliation for something. He doesn't...
Such a baby.
Yeah, he's a huge baby. Do you remember there was a game, the first full season he was with the Penguins when Penguins were playing the Bruins and he was destroying them. Behind the net, he was pounding Char at every opportunity. Yeah. He was being a real pain in the ass, but in a proactive way that wasn't taking penalties.
Right.
Now it's I love the chip on his shoulder, and he's an amazing player. I mean, he would probably be in the top. He would definitely be in the top 10 in the league in scoring if he was healthy all season.
Yeah.
But everything he does is reactionary. He's slashing people who hit him. He's getting frustrated that he's not scoring, so he's bothering the other team. I want him to do that stuff, but do it more controlled.
You're James Neal. Quit being such a baby. You should be a Cam Neely type player. What are you being such a baby for, James Neal?
Yeah, he needs to realize that he's one of the 5 best wingers in the league possibly, and he's got to start behaving accordingly. And I said, just don't take penalties. If you want to be dirty, fine, I don't care, but just don't take penalties doing it.
Yeah, now we have 3 guys on that line. Jokinen is getting into the act these last couple of games.
Yeah, it's contagious. I mean, if people are going to go around being crazy, then it's sort of contagious.
That line has all caught the virus. What are you doing, Jokinen?
It's a great line, though. I mean, they're really good, but they just got to cut back on that stuff. But we've been saying that for 4 years.
Yeah, that line is an entitled. That's the entitled line. What they are.
Right.
Things don't go their way. They get all pissy.
Yeah. So, what did you think? I wrote some playoff predictions today. I had Toronto and Washington getting in. Toronto lost tonight, and Washington lost in the shootout. Who do you think gets those last wild card spots?
Oh, I don't know. Who are the contenders? Is it Detroit and Columbus?
You got Detroit. You got Columbus. You got Washington. You got even New Jersey's not out of it yet.
I would say Detroit,
Toronto,
and Washington.
You like Detroit to get in?
Yeah.
Why?
I just think that they have the structure there in place. The kind of team where you can plug guys in even with the injuries, and they're gonna, play as a unit. Babcock has a tight hold on those reins, so I think down the stretch they'll have some consistency in the way that they play.
What if I told you they lost tonight to Columbus in regulation?
I would tell you that I imagine Datsuk and Zetterberg are still out of the lineup, and I have no idea when they're coming back, but I'd imagine they're coming back at some point.
I believe that Zetterberg's done, but Datsuk's coming back.
Zetterberg's done for the year?
I think so, yeah. I think so. But what would you think about this move in the offseason? I'm going to be unconventional here. Trade Dan Bilesma for Mike Babcock. Would you do it?
Yeah, I would do that.
Could be a trade that works for both teams.
Why do you think that would work for Detroit? Do you think they need a more collegial locker room atmosphere, something like that?
I think they want to make stretch passes. I think the wingers want to go 80 feet down the ice and make their immobile, poor puck handling defensemen pass them 80-foot passes through three guys.
Yeah, so if that's what they're looking for, it just might work.
Yeah.
It just might work. They want to stop matching up lines.
Yeah. So I think we come out tonight feeling pretty pessimistic about the Pens' chances in the playoffs. But we felt that way at times last year, and the Pens got to the Eastern Conference Finals. So I think our pessimism is more that the ceiling is lower than we thought it was, which doesn't mean the Pens can't win playoff games, but
yeah, I mean,
it just doesn't feel like they're going to win 16 before they lose 4 out of 7.
We don't have a lot of depth when we're healthy. Now we have absolutely no depth at all. You got, Bob Bortuzzo's playing 18 minutes a night. God bless him. He shouldn't be playing 18 minutes a night.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. So if you are out there listening, GTOG Nation, and you think we're being overly pessimistic, you think we have this all wrong, the Penguins are going to just march right through the Eastern Conference on the way to the Cup Finals, let us know why we're wrong. We won't agree, but we'll listen.
Yeah, we're gonna instant message about you behind your back.
Mm-hmm. It's probably best if you remain anonymous and let us know.
Yeah, the only way it happens is I think if everyone comes back fully healthy, including Letang.
Yeah, we'll always hold out. We'll always hold out.
There's no funeral. Look, you can look at the casket, but it doesn't mean there's not a miracle that's still out there.
Right. I know where the funeral is going to be held. I know what music we're going to play, but it doesn't mean that we're going to have the funeral. We're just making preparations.
Right. The deposit is refundable.
Right. All right. Good talk. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Until next time, GTOG.